On episode 44 of Chit Chat, we recap our adventure through Gen Con 2019. We navigated the crowds to see as much as possible and lived to tell about it. Oh, and have we mentioned that they have games at Gen Con? Welcome back to Chit Chat. This is episode 44, and guess what? We're going to be talking about another convention. We talked about Gen Con 2 episodes ago, what was coming to Gen Con. Now it's behind us, the dust has settled, we've all survived. We're going to talk about our Gen Con experience, not just the games, but all the sorts of things that went on at Gen Con. But before that, as always, we've got a winner from last episode.
That's right. Timothy Frost, you have won Comanauts from Plaid Hat Games. Just email us at manvsmeeple@gmail.com. And this week we are giving away Sinister 6, Spider-Man game.
Yeah, brand new Gen Con release.
That's right. So all you have to do is make a comment below and you're entered to win. Let's talk Gen Con.
Gen Con.
Who wants to go first?
Well,
I nominate Ryan.
I'll say, first of all, Gen Con is just an exhausting experience.
Totally.
So it is, as fun as Gen Con is, it is nice to have some time between us and Gen Con and not to be able to just sit and kind of relax and process everything that went on, because when you're there, you're running back and forth and you're seeing a lot of things, but at the end, it's not until you kind of stop and look back through that things start to come back to you.
Right.
Because without being at Gen Con, it's hard to explain how hectic and stressful it can be.
Even when you don't plan for it. I mean, we went into it not wanting to have a whole lot of meetings. We were just wanting to go enjoy. But it ended up being a whole lot of meetings at the most random of times, at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and someone asks you, hey, come take a look at our game. So you make every concession possible to go run a mile and a half away to go look at something. Yeah. But we also got time to enjoy things.
Yeah, we did enjoy it. It was tiring, though. It wasn't tiring during it. But I would agree, Sunday evening, actually Sunday afternoon, because I went home a little early on Sunday, and it wasn't 3 o'clock.
Game over.
I laid down on the couch for just a second. I thought, I'm just going to watch a show here for a second. And I was out for 2 hours. And then I was tired the next day, too. It was a rough week. You keep going, you working on adrenaline, but man, wiped out afterwards.
But no con crud. None of us are sick, which is amazing.
Knock on wood. Not so far, anyway.
Maybe it's because it's the summer months.
Right.
Who knows? But
I washed my hands a lot.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Every day, you go home and you just think all of the games you touch, especially card games that a billion other people, or it seems like a billion other people touched.
Yeah.
No offense to all the people who went to Gen Con, but yeah, I washed my hands.
One of the things I noticed this year is what you're wearing right now is the merchandise this year at Gen Con, which they've gone through some new marketing people, and the merch there this year was absolutely amazing. They had really, really high quality gear, but also the prints on them, they were just really well thought out.
High quality and relevant to today's, the newer gaming scene. There's nothing against the dragons on shirts and stuff like that, but that's what we've had for years and years and years. So it's nice to see sort of quote unquote cooler merch from Gen Con and Board Game Geek, actually.
Yeah.
I know their new look has been the topic of conversation on all the social medias lately, but I really like what they've done and what they're doing with it, and they made a big splash at Gen Con with that, with a lot of cool merch as well.
What about you, Carrie? You've gone the past 3 years as a publisher, but now you've gone as a consumer, someone who just can sit down and enjoy it. Was it different for you?
Yeah, it was a very different convention. It was a different version of exhaustion. This convention for me has always been, all right, you get there incredibly early. You work all day, you're on all day, you're demoing the same games over and over. It's very tiring. Maybe you go out to dinner afterwards, maybe you play a game, but generally I'm going home. I don't spend the whole evening. Last year, I did spend a little bit more time after the show than I had in the past, but this year, you're never actually off. There was no off time, and there's something about having the booth to protect you a little bit, and go get away and just kind of be on your own, whereas this is you're constantly on. No matter where you're at, you're always on. And so it was a little bit different. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed actually getting to go and play games and be able to walk around and talk to everyone and not be stuck behind a booth. Though there's a little bit I miss about being behind a booth that you just really enjoy from that side of things. So it was different. It was a nice change for sure, and I definitely want to continue to experience Gen Con this way going forward.
Did you guys feel the attendance numbers? They just announced that they hit 70,000 turnstiles.
Is that an all-time high?
Yeah. It was low 60s.
I would say it felt more crowded than it ever had to me. every day.
Yeah.
Even Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday,
Oh,
which
yeah.
has traditionally felt like a light day to me, was just as crowded walking through the aisles of the hall. And
Yeah.
Thursday, and I mean, honestly, I can't think of a day where I was like, oh, it's a little lighter today. It was like oftentimes shoulder to shoulder in some of those aisles.
Absolutely.
It was, and I do agree with that. It was definitely busier, but at the same time, I feel like Gen Con is doing a better and better job of organizing that. I mean, they had
for
areas roped off to funnel people through, so it wasn't just a mass throng. The hall is getting bigger, and it's getting the layout, I think, is a lot better. They had that huge gaming hall. The banquet hall in JW was open for gaming, so a lot of people were funneling over to JW and the stadium. So, yeah, the numbers are huge. I mean, they're double what they were when I started going to Gen Con, maybe even more than that.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't feel like double because I think they've done such a good job.
Well, I remember like last year, from the publisher side, we were all kind of going, Saturday is always your busiest day, and it didn't, like last year, Saturday didn't feel that way, and I don't know if it was because the Lucas Oil being a part of it or what, but things didn't feel quite the same on Saturday as they had in past years. This year was absolutely not the case. Every day felt full, every day felt busy. Games were selling out by Friday. It was pretty crazy. It was definitely felt the busy there.
It felt front loaded from the publisher standpoint. I've talked to a lot of them, and they felt like a lot of the games sold very early in the week. That's probably because of the mass of just numerous new games that were released. There was 400 or so on the Gen Con list.
Yeah, there was a lot
were
of
some
games
high
that
profile.
sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always been high profile games, and like I think there's so many now that it's hard to even list all of those high profile games. But there's a handful, more than a handful, that people went after day one. And I noticed, one of the things I noticed day one, some of the people used the coupon booklet. Some of the publishers used the coupon booklet in a major way to get massive lines for games that weren't typically on those lists, where people were just, hey, it's a free game, like or a deeply discounted game.
That Dwarven game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just giving it away for free.
Yeah, that was a
interesting.
huge draw to their booth for
The
sure.
line was like wrapped around the whole outside of the convention center waiting to get that free game. I mean, brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you talk about new games coming out, and I don't know if this is just me or if you guys agree with this, this felt like one of the strongest release years for
absolutely.
Gen Con that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
We're usually debating between a couple games what was the hottest. I feel like there were dozens that you could call the hottest game.
Let's talk about
So
it.
let's- nice segue, Ryan.
Yeah, we're not going to give an entire
Let's-
list. I'll have a list on the side that's going to show all the games that we really appreciated or experiences that we appreciated. But let's just talk about a couple of different things. We'll start with you, Ryan. What did you enjoy?
Honestly, I'll say my biggest surprise. My biggest surprise was the Funkoverse game.
Oh, yeah.
And this was announced just before Gen Con. I didn't know what my expectations were for this, but we saw their booth, and their booth looked really nice, really
slick.
professional.
Very nice.
And then we saw their room. And their room was one of the nicest, most well-produced rooms I've ever seen. It felt almost like half library, half game store, and it was very chill. And we got to go back there and sit down and have a little demo in their little demo area. But not only was the presentation great, the game was actually really good.
It is.
I really expected, and I'll say this honestly, that it could be a cash grab. They just slap a Funko name, put some Funko Pops in a box, and sell it. But the game is solid. It felt very strategic, and a lot of people are comparing it to games like Unmatched, which came out at Gen Con as well. And it's like a lighter Unmatched. It's a game you could play with your family. It's really good.
It has a couple really cool elements that I didn't expect. I mean, there's a number of experiences. There's a couple, at least at the show, that I felt were like, I think we were all a little skeptical going into them. And then they were like, whoa, this is more interesting than we thought. Funkoverse was definitely one of those things. And, you said it could be a cash grab only. Why not both, right?
Yeah.
Sure, I mean,
Funko's super popular, and the fact that they're able to tie such a huge thing to a good game is refreshing. Because we all hate it when we see IP or all sorts of things used that way. Where it's like, oh, let's just throw this in a box and see how it goes. But it is a really good game with a couple really interesting mechanics.
Yeah. I'll talk about a couple games. I'll start with one, the Marvel Champions LCG. It was a giant surprise. If people don't already know, I'm a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings LCG. Two of the main designers are designers on this project, so it has a lot of the DNA from the Lord of the Rings LCG, which tells me that that's about to die. Like, that game has been going on for a number of years. However, the thing I love about this game is that a lot of these things are very obscure to Lord of the Rings fans. Like, you're going into some weird Dunedain region that no one knows about really in the books, and they're kind of grabbing little pieces of the lore here and there. Marvel has a super rich history. Like, you're going to be battling Rhino, you're going to be battling a Hobgoblin. All these characters are really well developed in a very known universe, using some of the same mechanisms. And it's fantastic. I mean, it hits all the different buttons that I enjoy in the Lord of the Rings LCG, and it just kind of converts some of those things over. Not to mention it has like those different characters, different heroes, different villains, and then like alter egos that you're trying to...
That part was cool.
It's just a really slick system.
Yeah, I never played the Lord of the Rings one, so that's
You're
probably
missing out.
strike
So good.
against me. But so I didn't really have anything to compare it to, but the Marvel one is just, it's fun.
Yeah.
Just pure fun. And there's sky's the limit to the kind of characters. It's not directly tied into
absolutely.
the cinematic universe or anything, so they can just go wild with characters.
Yeah.
Well, and I play Arkham, and so the Arkham LCG also from them, and I don't know if it has, but it felt similar to me as well as far as the difficulty level, which is what you want. I don't want to just go in and play the game and, okay, cool, we're battling. It was hard. By the end of the game we played, one of us was still alive, battling
one of
out.
us.
Just one out of 4. And so it was not easy, and I don't want it to be easy. I want it to be hard. I want it to be difficult. And that flipping back and forth between your alter ego and your hero self, and the balance of that was really, really interesting. And I'm looking forward to really, once we can get our hands on it, diving into that some more.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, the other cool thing about that, before I go on to mine, is Marvel and FFG.
Yeah.
Like just in general, right? Because they also announced their miniatures game that's coming out as well. And those two things, I'm assuming, are probably just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, I guarantee it.
To see that company working with the Marvel license is pretty exciting, for sure. So we should see a lot of products that I'm hoping down the road. So I'll start with one of my game experiences. And sadly, this was actually after Gen Con, but it was a Gen Con release. And that's Ecos. I absolutely love this game. We just recorded a review of it that we'll be posting very soon, or it's probably up by now. And this game, we actually had a chance. Todd from AEG was here on set. We had a little open house, and he basically demoed it for you. And then Jeremy and I played it a few days ago with Kira, and I've played it a couple times since then. It is just a fun, satisfying game. Yeah. It's got some wild, crazy swings with scoring, but I love it. It's just a blast. I played it last night, and I was in the lead like 40-something to 15 and 16, and I thought, I'm going to run away with this. And I ended up losing. I had 62 points at the end, and the other two people had 91 and 94.
I love the turn down on the cards. That is just the aging of those, cool. and really that, and how you decide which ones you want to go for, and just thinking through that, and just the fun little things that it does. Like, I really enjoyed bringing out the shark and eating all the animals, and really just taking that away.
Too.
Yeah,
oh my gosh! I hope it does well, because it is very expandable.
Yeah. While you're on that, really quick, how impressive was it that AEG rethemed their booth
every day
for their new release? And they had a whole Ecos booth the last day of the show. But if you didn't see it, every day it was like they did Point Salad, they did Edge of Darkness, right? Or the Family Game Night or whatever, Edge of Darkness, Ecos. It was crazy.
Tiny Towns one day. Yeah.
That is
and just
really
seeing
cool.
them go after, like, at the end of the show and just take it down. And I mean, they had a very good system in place. It happened very quickly. The team seemed fine, and they were able to still go home and relax pretty easily, or do whatever they were going to do for the rest of the evening. And the booth looked great. It was really cool to see that and have that turnaround every day.
It's nice to see that sort of effort being done in the board game industry, for sure.
Kira.
So for me, I think one of the things that I just keep coming back to is the Tebaru. It's Kamon's got it, but it's not specific to them. But it's going to start with the Zombicide, and as somebody who Zombicide was one of the first games I picked up in the hobby, and I haven't touched it in like 4 years. And there's a couple reasons why. One of those is a buddy of mine likes to add the made-up character, the Marvel characters that you can download online, and it kind of broke the game a little bit, but that was the only way they wanted to play it, and that's who I played with. So part of that was why we stopped playing it, but also just because the setup time on it. This Tebaru thing takes out all of that, all the tediousness, all of everything. And if that were alone the only thing, it would be enough. However, on top of that, the technology, I went in super skeptical. People have tried to do some things like this before. The trailer looked really great. Of course it would.
Seemed gimmicky.
It seemed
just
gimmicky,
at first glance.
Yeah. We sit down and we're like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And I mean, it totally took me by surprise. It was incredibly cool. They have this wonderful animated comic style narrative going on that's active. You don't have to do anything. It just does what it does. They have a real voice actor, well-known voice actor in it, the guy who does Bender for Futurama. So good. And every little piece of it worked pretty dang good for it being a very early version of it for us to look at. And I don't know, it just super impressed me.
Yeah, well, not only sort of all the bells and whistles and stuff, but as we were talking with them, learning some of the things they want to do and the directions they want to take this thing, namely being able to have it set up at my house and play someone in California or around the world potentially linked together via the cloud is a really cool idea. I don't know in practice. Like, it sounds really cool to me, and I would definitely do that at least once. But I think there's a ton of board gamers. We're connected with people that we only see at these conventions. You know, friends that we know in the industry, other content creators. We never get to play with them except for the conventions. But to be able to sit down and play with them, play with our viewers, it would be fantastic.
awesome.
Yeah, I just was talking to Derek Funkhauser yesterday about how it'd be cool because, you know, he used to live closer, now he's on the West Coast. We don't see him as much. It'd be cool to just be able to play with him.
Yeah.
And just with anybody, really, like you said. And I think some of the other things, and Jeremy, you probably want to talk about this a little bit, but just some of the cool things that can happen with it.
Yeah, so first off, I'm super afraid that people are going to take this as a video game version of a board game. It's not. I mean, that's what they really want to express to us, is this is a board game that's just enhanced, and it truly is. Like, everything that you just mentioned just made the game more immersive.
Yeah.
And it was super fun to watch. Like, we've played Lord of the Rings, the Journeys in Middle-earth, and we've always wanted that voiceover to come out, and interactive comic books that you're watching things. And that's the only thing that game is lacking that I would really enjoy, and Zombicide provides that. It's a really cool thing. The other thing is that I would love about this is that the game space that this system creates, each of us had our own little iPhone or iDevice in front of us, and in future games, you have the ability of doing like trading with other people in secret. You have the ability of doing hidden movement in secret.
Yeah.
And you can do all that on your phone or whatever device you're using, so you can be making deals with people and no one else would know, if the game allows it, of course. Like,
No more
the
table
games,
talk.
the game space that this creates for players just to be more immersed in the experience is really, really exciting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. I would love to see this technology with two games in particular, Dead of Winter and Mansions of Madness.
Oh, yeah.
I think would be super cool. And since Come On is, like you said, Come On is doing the launch, but I was talking to other publishers, and they put on that event for consumers to go look at it, but so many publishers came out of that booth, I know, with gears spinning in their heads,
Oh, sure.
trying to get their games onto that platform.
Yeah, very, very cool. Any other games you want to mention? I'll start with one, and I'll come back to you guys. That is Clank Legacy.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for Clank Legacy. We were there when they opened up the first initial box. We have video on our Facebook, thanks to Kira. Everybody there was excited. We had like 10 people wrapped around the table. They were opening it up, and there's all kinds of stuff in there. Maps that are unfinished, sticker books, story elements. Like, I thought it was going to be just a Clank, normal Clank box with a little bit of Legacy. It's a massive box.
No, it's
a lot.
serious.
It's a serious production going on here, so I cannot wait to get our hands
I know,
on
I'm
that.
going a little crazy
And I
right
lied. One more game, Mystery House. I love Mystery House. Like, we haven't covered it yet on the channel, but we've played it, and I'm super excited for what this game can do as well. Taking that 3D aspect of a house, rotating it around, seeing all kinds of different rooms, exploring those rooms, having different types of elements that aren't just a haunted house, but you can have like bank heists and all kinds of different things. So I love that game.
One of the cool moments to see for me was Ankh from Come On, Eric Lang's new game. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Blood Rage and Rising Sun. And I've known about this game. I mean, he's showed us stuff and demoed it, but being at Gen Con was the first time we got to see like actual minis of the game.
Yeah.
And like the box cover and just all of this. And this is just going to be a very solid game.
Yeah.
I mean, I am all in for this game, I think 100%. So it was cool to actually be able to finally announce that. Now we can start looking forward to that, which I'm sure it's coming to Kickstarter, I think sometime this
Later
year.
this year.
Right?
Later this year.
Yeah.
That was a
Soon.
really cool moment.
Soon.
Well, I had one more game and one experience.
All right.
Game, super short and simple, medium. Like, we played medium every night. We played it on our live stream before the show, which was my first exposure to it, and I didn't even play it. I just watched it being played and thought, this is good. I bought that game straight away on the first day I could, and literally Every night there was an organized play that we were doing of it where we were all sitting at a table, and we even broke it out during almost every meal we had during the week. We would just sit there at the restaurant playing around the table before our food got there. Great game. Definitely look for it. This is one of those games that's kind of like Code Names or something like that, where it's like, this is such a simple game, but it's so fun. And I haven't had as much fun around the table giving people high fives in a long time, except for this game. Experience, which was like a one-in-a-lifetime kind of thing, was I got to go to lunch and have a beer with Stefan Feld. Like, it was the coolest thing. Travis from Queen Games set this up, and mostly with Rob from Blue Peg, Pink Peg, I kind of tagged along as well. And it was just the two of us, Travis, Alicia tagged along with us, and Stefan Feld, and we got to sit there and sort of fanboy out and ask him all sorts of questions. And we asked him all the typical questions like, what's your favorite game that you designed? And then we got into it a little bit more personal. He was telling us, I had no idea. Stefan Feld is a high school principal. Did everyone know that?
No. Did not know that.
He is currently a high school principal. Like, what if your principal was Stefan Feld?
Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
He's also an active actor. He does stage theater. He showed us pictures of him in costume. Like, I've always seen pictures of Stefan Feld and thought, oh, he seems like a really quiet, sort of like solitary designer. But he was a blast and a super nice guy too. He was really genuine. And I have to admit this, I was sitting there talking for a while, and someone mentioned Man vs. Meeple, and we'd been sitting having lunch for about 10 minutes at least. And as soon as someone said Man vs. Meeple associated with me, he went, oh, now I know. Like, it was then that he
Recognized you.
placed my face. And what was really cool about that is he's watched the channel, which
awesome.
was super cool to hear. Like, we love everyone who watches, but come on, Stefan Feld.
He's watching right now, listening to you gush about him.
Probably not, but I'll wave anyway. But anyway, that was just a really, really cool moment.
Cool.
Yeah,
Kira, do you
that's
have
cool.
anything else?
I'll just quickly mention Watergate and Quirky Circuits. I've talked about them before. They're both really great games. Definitely have to check them out. They're still highlights for me of the show.
That is our wrap for Gen Con. Hopefully you guys can make comments below about the games that you picked up, what surprised you, what got you excited. That's it for Gen Con. No more talk about that. We're on to
we are
Essen
done.
now.
Our next episode is our Gen Con 2020 preview. No, but that is. We're going to put some conventions behind us for a little while.
A little bit.
The Essen list is already up on BGG, so we've already been taking a look at that. But we're probably going to get back to some interesting topics here over the next few episodes, and then probably dive into Essen after that. Until then... Well, that's another episode of Chit Chat in the bag. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out another one, there's probably one right over here in the bottom left-hand corner, or probably your right-hand corner. Whatever corner, we have something to click on. So click on one of these things, and good things will happen.